getting berated by people in masks. And it's crazy that this is still like a thing, considering it's been more than proven that that shit was fake. That they were fucking lying to us. Masks don't do anything. You know. Sorry. I'm hoping the reset affects the algorithm, because I don't normally get dropped down to 0 viewers until later on in the video. So I wanted to make up for that. So again, this is going to be one of those videos that there's no point. Like, if you're dumb enough to hear the official story and not have more questions about it like that, there's nothing I can do about that. Right? You're fucking stupid. That's the way it is, and I'm not going to waste the time on you. Especially when you're just another dumb troll. Oh, Jesus. The broad's flipping out because her dude is looking at other broads. If you're that insecure, man, you don't need a relationship. People are always going to look. I expect my wife is... Like, if I see a really good-looking dude, I'll point it out to my wife. Look at that guy. He's fucking hot. How do I give a shit? The arrogance of people thinking that the other person is going to be interested in their person is just so funny to me. Even if somebody comes up to your person and starts hitting on them, you know, depending on how your person responds, but it's not the person's fault. You know, it's nobody's fault. It's just the way things are. And obviously, if the person keeps going after you've sort of established, hey, man, one, she's happy, two, you know, like whatever, or he's, whatever it is. Like, you got to get over your shit, man. People are fucking stupid. So, Gary Caradoni, he was, I think we have stumbled into something on this feed that is a connection not being made by the larger public. And yet it absolutely should be, because it's impossible not to. And it's so much different now with the Epstein stuff and the Israel stuff all being forefront. Like, it's not, you're not fighting the fight that I've fought my whole life, you know, fighting the fight that especially I've been fighting since January of 2020, like full on. And then prior to that, it was still there. It just wasn't, it changed in January of 2020 when I made the declaration that I was no longer going to be focused on chemtrails and vaccines and all of these secondary issues. I wanted to focus on the main thing, which at the time for me was cutting off Israel and using that money to form proper pedophile hunter groups here in the United States and essentially kill pedophiles. Now, I know that back then my perspective was, you know, the friar cult is the problem. I just wasn't as confident or comfortable saying it yet. But, you know, I learned and I researched and I looked, and I basically tried to prove myself wrong. That's really all I ever do. That's pretty cool. And so, at an early point, I realized you can't really trust what people say, that, especially if you don't know them. But even then, even if you do, you don't know, one, what people's motivation is, but two, how they see it, or if they caught all the little pieces. I know every time I read Israel Hayom, Bottom of Darkness, I find more shit where I'm just like, what, how did I even miss it? But what the fuck, right? And so, looking into all of it, you don't end up finding a whole bunch of different directions. Like, I know there's the 13 families and all that shit. But 13 families might seem like a lot, but it's not. We're talking about an entire world. And as long as they're working together and they all have the same goals in mind and they all have their pieces laid out. And, like, what they've done is they've convinced us that the ultra wealthy, the ultra powerful are addicted to that and they want more. But, if the 13 families are all related and it's all been laid out for them, you control this piece, you control that piece. It's not like any of the pieces they control are ever going to go away. And it's not like they could go against the others and wouldn't have retaliation. So they all know their place. It'd be like it'd be like extra. It would be like the supporting actors and actresses in something trying to overthrow the main actor. It's just, that's not, they work together to do the play. It's a football team. It's, each piece knows its piece. The receivers aren't trying to be quarterbacks. They might throw a pass every once in a while, or they might even have been a quarterback back in the day, but now they're a receiver. Why do women scream? This broad just hit her man with a laptop as they're getting escorted off the plane. And somebody watching it was like, ah! It's crazy that people would do anything in the airports. Like, those guys are beyond normal police. You got to be a dumbass to do something like that. Anyway, so looking into everything, years ago, I knew about, and years ago, I've known about the Franklin cover-up fucking, I don't know, probably almost 20 years. I knew about the Franklin cover-up way early on in my journey. I knew about Ted Gunderson. You heard these stories, Johnny Gosh and all that. It's really crazy to think, like, how much worse the internet is now. And that's a weird thing to say, but the late aughts and the early teens, YouTube was fantastic. You could find all sorts of great stuff on YouTube. It wasn't nearly as restricted. It was you could find loose chains, and you could find all these videos on there, and then multiple multiple, videos along the same lines. YouTube used to be really, really great. And it still is a fantastic resource, but it's just a lot more controlled. Like, trying to find 200 proofs the earth isn't a spinning ball is a door. You can find, quote, debunk videos, which don't debunk anything. They'll talk about math. And if you adjust the math equations on things, then yeah, you can get different answers, but that doesn't necessarily mean true. This broad is walking through the aisles of the grocery store, dropping shit. What a dumbass. What a dumbass. And why is her face bleeped out? If she's not like some person on a mental fucking trip and she's just being a bitch, she needs to be fucking put on blast. Oh, because she was a fucking homeless woman and it was cold outside and she was just trying to get arrested. That's so fucked up that that's what people have to do to get fucking shelter in this world. Well, you didn't make all the right choices when you were 18 years old and struggling and your family was shit. So I guess you're fucked now, huh? That's fucking crazy. If you fight somebody trying to rob a store, especially if it's not your store, you're fucking stupid. Somebody comes to rob me, I'm gonna be like, here you go, man. I'm not even looking at you, please. Let me just go. I got family. Let me just go. I'll put down. I'll wait 30 seconds. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'm not gonna fight you. My life is not worth this fucking store. The store has insurance. The store has insurance for that specific reason. You're worried about a couple of $100 in a register over your fucking life? You're stupid. You're fucking stupid. Anyway, so Ted Gunderson and the Franklin cover up is an old story, to the point where I one of our songs is called Ted Gunderson, and it's one of the earlier songs. The Ted Gunderson song is probably on the original playlist, on the Conspiracy Theory Cells playlist. And with that said, that means it's an older song. I wish I knew the exact date of it for ya. Let's see, is Ted on that one? Nope. It's on these. You never know when these ones were made. Ted Gunderson was made. Yeah, see, Ted's an old one. It's on the MAGA 2020 playlist, but it's older than that. It was put on there afterwards. So Ted's from 16, 17, something like that. Ted Gunderson's an old song.
We can do the impossible. We do it every day. The things once thought illogical, we prove and prove away. The lines we saw as nautical are now redrawn in space. Evolution's in your optical.
He puts the gun on the counter like a dumbass. What are you thinking? It puts the gun on the counter to grab the money. And then she shoots at him. You're stupid. Why would you shoot at the guy? He was running. If somebody's running away from you and you shoot at them, that's how you get charged. You're not allowed to shoot somebody that's running away from you. Oh, Jesus. Look, the dumbass desperation guy's here. He's desperate, he's stupid, and he knows it. All right, so Ted Gunderson ends up... Ted Gunderson ends up getting all his credibility from me and from a lot of people because he's a former FBI chief. He was the chief of multiple offices in the country. The chief, the head of the LA office, the head of the Memphis office, And apparently, Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, is a hotbed for FBI and CIA recruits. Didn't know that, but do now. And when you think about it, and you think about FBI guy goes rogue and starts telling people about the satanic cult that does everything the Jews are said to do, but colors it satanic, right? It's satanic. It's full of Satan, you know. It ends up, you know, being really fucking dumb. And you see this narrative, you know. You see the narrative that appeals to the stupidest of us. You know, the dumbest people possible are the ones that are going to be attracted to that idea. It's the fantasy. It's the devil. It's the devil that does it. And that's what I lost an argument about purgatory. Yes, I lost an argument about purgatory because I said it didn't exist because they removed limbo, right? And if you look up, does purgatory exist, you'll actually find a lot of articles about people talking about it. But the idea that this desperate jackass was like half right about something, right? Half right. This was well over a month ago that he knows he can't find anything else to talk about, so he keeps trying to talk about this one thing that he wasn't even fully right on. And it shows you that, like, he is way more concerned with me than things like pedophilia, than things like genocide. He's not interested in those topics. He wants to talk about me, and I just think it's really telling. Instead of, you know, trying to pick other things, instead you're bottom feeding. And what do you expect? It's bottom feeding.
I am an 11-ton butter.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate your example, right? Like, it doesn't bother me. If it bothered me, I'd just block you. No, I know that that's what you're going to do every single time because that's all you have. You're like my wife's friend, Gary. Right? The first time I met this dude, we went to his house, and he had this terrible marriage, and the wife sort of had stood upstairs, and then he lived in his little man cave basement. He loved his little man cave, and he had all kinds of knickknacks and stupid shit all over the walls. But I don't know, we had to be talking for like 5 or 10 minutes before he was like, "Hey, you want to see my video? Did Ange tell you about my video?" And I'm like, "What? No, like, your video? Okay, no." And he's like, "Yeah, dude. There was a Detroit Lions compilation video made in like 1988, still at the Silverdome kind of shit. And there was a split second in that video where it focused on him. He had blue face paint on and shit. He was all decked out as the Lions guy. And that was like his moment. That was his thing. It's 20 plus years later, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I did this one." And he didn't even do anything. He just put makeup on his face, and he was screaming like a jackass in the crowd, so the camera panned on him. But this is like the first time I'm meeting this guy, right? This is your thing. When you live for those little tiny achievements, it says a lot about you. And it's, you know, is it a surprise that it's the guy that identifies as a Catholic, the pedophile, you know, the guy that supports pedophilia in every aspect, well, in his own personal aspect? Is it that surprising? Is it that surprising that it's the guy that falls for the Jewish fairy tale, claims to be something, but then doesn't actually know anything about it? Is it that surprising? No. Is it that surprising that it's the guy that pops into a conversation about something that is actually really fucking huge? You know, this Ted Gunderson, Boys Town, Franklin cover-up thing, this is already a really huge story. But when you take it to the next level like I am and you connect it to the Gulf fucking War, like that's some big time shit. But that would also require some sort of political knowledge, that would require some sort of historical knowledge. That wouldn't be because you kind of know some bullshit Jewish fairy tale and then you just apply it to, you know, everything like it matters. So yes, I will address it and I will say thank you. Thank you for proving just how stupid and desperate your average Catholic, you know, basically has to be. Like, it's not a choice. You know, if your choice is I'm a Catholic or I'm a Christian, you have to flip the stupidity switch. And you have to go, okay, I'm going to shut off common sense. I'm going to shut off my reasoning. I'm going to shut off, you know, anything that's like an adult way of thinking about it. And I'm just going to believe this thing because that's what I'm supposed to believe. And so when you look into the Franklin cover-up and this Boys Town narrative, and you see that Ted Gunderson, again, his whole thing, if you break it down and you say, all right, what is Ted Gunderson's sort of number one thing? And he talked about a bunch of different things, but his sort of, you know, his glue, his fryers, his connector of all of it was the satanic ritual abuse, you know, the satanic shit. And you know, the idea of the satanic networks and all these things. And what a strange, you know, what a strange way to go, because it's literally putting all of the responsibility on a fantasy, on an absolute fallacy and a fantasy that you know, that you can't actually hold accountable. You can't hold it responsible. I know none of you have met a Satanist in your life. You might have, you know, in high school met some dumbass goth kid. Nah, God sucks and Satan, blah, blah, that kind of kid. But you've never met somebody that's like truly a Satanist, goes to Satanist meetings and all this other shit. And I can't stress it enough how difficult that must have been. Being somebody that's been in this world for, you know, 20 fucking years. I remember when MySpace first started. I remember when Facebook clicked on. I remember, you know, all the videos of Obama deceptions and Tonka Sheila and Loose Change and Zeitgeists and all of it. I know all that stuff. I've seen all of it. You know, like I say, YouTube used to be a lot better about it, so you could see a lot more. And you know, the Ted Gunderson story, the Boys Town story, these are all stories that I knew of a long time ago. And if you've been in this world even a little bit for any lengthy period of time, you know this, right? You know that this story exists. And it's like it's damaging, it's negative that Ted Gunderson tells people to go after the fantasy idea of it. And if you just switch it out, it's all the exact same shit. If you switch out, just like with the reptilian conspiracy, right? The reptilian conspiracy is just another thing that they put out there that's the exact same thing. It's something that you can focus on, that you can blame, but there's not actually any direct person or idea or belief to blame or anything. So you just end up sounding like a crazy person talking about the lizard people. And I was well into the lizard people argument because I kept trying to think like, what makes sense, right? Who could possibly push the button? And the notion of like, look at how we treat cows, pigs, chickens. We just genocide them. We actually like we do a sustainable genocide where we make sure we don't kill too many so we can have more later. Kind of like what Palestine's been for the last 70 years. But you look at this shit and you think, look at this shit. Look at these dumbass shits, right? Look at these, like, again, I'm talking about pedophilia. And these guys are, who makes jokes about it? I know my real people, right? The Mats of the world and shit. Huh. Makeup's already looking like it's gonna sell. People don't buy makeup though. He's ranting. Ranting. Yep. The rant. And I'm ranting. And again, this notion of like I'm the guy that's openly against this whole thing, and that bothers you. You think it's the Satanists? You think there are Satanists here? They're mad, the Satanists. But you look at this and you see it for what it is, right? You see that Ted Gunderson wasn't like, he didn't leave the FBI. He was FBI till the day he died. And his job was to distract everyone. Don't talk about the friars. Talk about the fake Satan bullshit. Why do you think, if it's really this thing, why do you think like it's so prominently talked about? It's not one of the things we're not allowed to talk about. Why doesn't it work out that way? It's fucking fantastic, man. This whole thing isn't hard to figure out. This whole narrative, this whole conspiracy isn't hard to figure out. They don't put churches on every corner because that's the secret to defeating them. Why the fuck would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. The only reason that it would make sense is if you wanted people to be distracted. You wanted them to be focused on the wrong thing. And that literally makes sense. It makes sense why FBI guy Ted Gunderson isn't taken out. He's allowed to not just exist, but prolifically. He lived a good life. Sold books, did speaking engagements, was in different movies and videos and shit. Like Ted did well. Selling people the narrative they want to sell them. Do you understand? Like if I did that, if I told you guys that it was Satan, the Satanists, the Luciferians, and I didn't ever bring up the friars, I'd probably be allowed to get pretty big. Your Nick Fuentes's, your Stu Peters, your Ian Carrolls, all these guys, they all say the same thing, right? They all say the exact same bullshit. Miss Cozy.
I snapped out of it when the ambulance got here. And I wouldn't let them take me both times, right? Yeah.
No, it was weird. There's way more to it than the ambulance. You snapped out of it as they were about to take you, not when the ambulance was here.
That was the second time. The first time I was already awake when they got here, right?
No. There was only the one time the ambulance came. The second time you didn't let us call anybody. You flipped out, your body, blah, 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 blah.
So what happened after you took the pain pills? Like, what happened to your body? Like,
it put me into a minor
vascular event. And this is where we disagree with you. Cool. I'd love to hear why and how you disagree. The Lucy's are very real. I mean, okay, so again, you're saying something stupid like the Jews are very real. The you know the Christians are very real. Catholics are like that's not saying anything. Yes, there are narratives of people who are who look in certain way, but you don't really think that the people at the top of the fucking pyramid you think those guys believe in in the Jewish fairy tale bad guy? Because remember, it's specific to one. Right? It's very specific. Actually, it is interesting because the same devil sort of exists in all of the pieces, but they're all the Abrahamic things. And like I can make a lot more sense of it than you can. You say, "Oh, they're real." Okay. Well, I say to you that they tell you that's what it is to protect themselves, to insulate themselves. The vast majority of Christians, especially like diehard like black women and shit, if you suggest that something may have to do with Lucifer, they go, "Oh, no, no, no. I don't want nothing to do with it. Don't you even talk to me about that, you know, Satan be gone kind of bullshit." They're not going to even listen. It's a way of protecting yourself. And the most important aspect is if you're a human being and you accept the idea of them being Luciferians, then you accept the idea of Satan, you're admitting defeat, right? Lucifer, Satan, this is a man, this is a being, you know, gay guy in a suit, in a tuxedo with his pitchfork, mustache and his little tail. If you accept that notion, that belief structure, you're admitting defeat. You're saying, all right, we lose. Because Satan has magical powers. Satan is the supervillain. And humans, the people, don't ever beat the supervillain. Ever. You never see that in any of the movies that are made. The people don't beat the supervillain. The superhero has to beat the supervillain. And so by saying that you accept the idea of Satan, you're going, well, I gotta wait for the good guy to come fix it for us. I gotta wait for it. It's a fake narrative based on bullshit to distract and to make people see things the way they want them to be seen. It's so simple. And the reality is, look at the comment section. If I was wrong about any of it, how come they can't address it? How come they just say stupid shit? I'm the one that's going against the wealth of information and blah, blah, that all this evidence that you should have. Shit's been around for 2,000 years. 1611, but you know, the whole Luciferian shit is bullshit. And it's you know, it's just a trick. And so when you expose the truth about all of it, you dispel this narrative of Luciferians. You dispel this bullshit. Do they, you know, again, something, all they have to do is, if they figure out some sort of vibrational thing, they have some sort of ancient tech, some sort of something that allows them to do things that we don't necessarily think is possible. All they have to do is call it Satanist, and then we're good. Okay, cool. It's Satanist. They're using black magic, Satan magic. Well, I'm definitely not going to look into that because I don't want to open the portal to the demons coming in to get me. I don't want it to be worse. I mean, it's fucking, it's insane. It's insane. And then again, It's literally all based in Jewish fairy tale, of which none of it is verified or backed up by human existence. There's no proof for any of it. If your proof for the Bible is the Bible, you're a moron. And it again, it's like, do you not understand the concept of the Abrahamic religions? There's a reason why Abraham, the two of the characters that are persistent in all three versions are Abraham and the devil. And Jesus. Jesus is in all three as well. But Abraham is the father of the Jewish people. He's actually the main antagonist in the Bible. He's the main, not Satan. Satan's not the main bad guy. Abraham is. And yet, according to Christian Catholic dumbass beliefs, Abraham is the father of all religious people, all religious beliefs. And then according to Islam, he's like just a prophet, another one of the prophets, many prophets, but an important one, no doubt. And what when you understand like how much of the Bible is based on incest and rape and child, like Mary is between 12 and 15 at the most, but more like 13, 14 maybe. The mother of Jesus was a child. And even crazier though is when you get to Abraham and you understand that Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, married his sister, Sarai. Abram married Sarai. And then when he was like 90 something years old, he built he had already built God phones, but he built another God phone and he was talking to God and God was like, yes, I am the guy who is the other guy with the me and the my and the me, may, moo. Because he always introduces himself as something different, which is strange because it shows you that all the texts, all the different religious texts were written by different people. Why do you think God always refers to himself as something different? They got the memo that he's supposed to be something along these lines, but they didn't quite. Is it, I am he who says I am the Almighty, I am what was, what is, and what will be, I am, like, what? That's fucking confusing. Can you imagine trying to unify people but introducing yourself as something different each time? How would you even begin to pull that together? Hey, yeah, I had a vision, and this guy, he said, I am the guy with the size 12 feet, and I have big hands and blonde hair. And then the other guy's like, yeah, well, I had the same experience, except he said, I'm the guy with size 6 feet. I'm really fat, and I got brown hair. Well, that's really weird. Oh, well, same thing. Like, it's fucking stupid, man. Let me see. Has anyone commented that matters? No. So we'll keep going. But like so Abram builds the God phone, talking to God. God's like, hey, you're gonna now be called Abraham, and your wife, who is called Sarai, will now be called Sarah, and she is going to get pregnant. And Abraham's like, God, come on, I'm like 90 years old. She's like 90 years old. What the fuck are you talking about? And I know people go, well, in the Bible, people live to be 800 plus years old. Yeah, but they seemingly aged the same. They didn't, like, the long lifespan didn't slow down the aging process. The morons who put it together didn't think it all the way through. Because again, when God says, I'm going to give your 90-year-old ass and 90-year-old wife a child, Abraham's like, what are you talking about, dude? We're super old. She's long past having reasonably, fertilizable eggs. And me, I mean, my shit doesn't even work. What are you talking about? I'm 90. And God was like, I swear to me, she's going to get pregnant. Trust me on this one. And it's really fucking crazy how this works. You know, it's like, how do you fall for that? Are you really that stupid? Do you really hear that shit and not think anything of it? Do you really not think, holy shit, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard? What do you think about the idea that the father of all religious people, Abraham, the main like centerpiece in so Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are all considered Abrahamic religions. So what does that tell you? If they're all Abrahamic, what does that tell you?
Abraham is the second highest thing besides God.
He said it's the next best thing besides God. Makes sense, doesn't it? So Abraham, when speaking to God with his God phone, God told him, actually his name was Abram, and he was married to his sister, Sarai. And God told him when he was like 90, hey, your name's now Abraham, and your sister wife's name is not Sarai, it's Sarah, and she's going to get pregnant. They're both 90 years old. Does that make sense?
How's she supposed to get pregnant?
Yeah, it's lots of fun. It's lots of fun. I love you, buddy.
Egg fertilization ends at like 50.
Well, them having, no, guys can do it. Men can have kids till they're well old if it works. But female eggs go bad. They spoil. Jeez, my dumb 13-year-old kid can figure this out. It doesn't make any sense. If all three are considered the Abrahamic religions, sounds like Abraham's a pretty important person, huh? And this is the shit that you don't get a choice. This is the stuff in the Bible that's not supposed to be interpreted. This is the shit in the Bible that is supposed to be taken literally. I mean, it's just so insane that, you know, all of the people in the world come from Adam and Eve, I guess, having sex with their own kids and shit, and then their own, I mean, you know, Cain and Abel took wives from the people of Nod, which doesn't really get addressed in the Bible. Suddenly there's more people outside of the Garden of Eden. But it's basically a whole bunch of incest that gets things going. And I guess Adam and Eve happens before there's a wipeout. There must be some sort of wipeout. Well, I don't know. No, can't be a wipeout. It's just there. See, again, it's so confusing because it sounds like there's a shit ton of people that exist, but the notion that Abram married his sister sounds like there wasn't many options. Like that's how it gets justified throughout history. Well, they didn't have a lot of options back then. But they become the father of, those two become the mother and father of the Jewish people. And if anyone on this planet has that inbred look about them, could it be the people that stem from brother and sister relations? Right? Like that's fucking disgusting. And then there's everyone gets wiped out again, and then Arabic Noah, well, Jewish Noah and his Jewish family, they end up repopulating the earth once again. These multiple stories of incest leading to the population of the world. And you just accept that. And what do you think that does psychologically? I mean, from a very young age, you're told you definitely can't hook up with your siblings, even with your cousins or anything, because that leads to retardation. We all know that. And yet that's the main premise of the Bible, is that everything sort of exists thanks to fucking incest multiple times. Why would you accept that shit? And so this is, you know, I've gone and in this direction because of Ted Gunderson and him swaying the people, creating what the late 80s, early 90s termed as the satanic panic. And I mean, I grew up in that. I remember being scared of Satanists. I remember, you know, you would go into a place, you'd discover an old building somewhere, and you'd go start exploring it, and you'd see 666 on the wall, and you go, oh man, they must be Satanists in here. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. And the most important aspect of it is, if they give you the answer before you have the question, you never have the question. Look at us, knock back down to 0 and 1 viewer. Totally makes sense, right? Totally makes sense. No. Hey, why isn't the fucking fake preacher, the fake priest here? The fake priest should be here making priests look stupid. That's what he does on Sunday mornings. Not like he fucking does any sort of religious nonsense, that's for damn sure. I mean, just think about how stupid this is. So, Ted Gunderson creates the satanic panic, gets everybody looking in the wrong direction. But the only way you can be true controlled opposition is if you're telling the truth in some way or another. Right? So there's some shit that good old Ted Head says, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't fit. It doesn't, like it fits. It fits the package much nicer than what I would say. And it's an easier narrative to push, like, because you've already seeded the people with the Satan narrative, even though, you know, again, this is a Christian nation. You would think as Christians they would know what their Bible says. They don't. I'm surprised by how often somebody identifies themselves as Christian or Catholic, and yet they don't know shit about it other than, like, the real sort of basic stuff that everyone knows. You belong to the organization, but you don't know what the organization says. Sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. But this narrative here, the Franklin cover-up, is surprisingly a story that none of you know. And it's talked about as though it's some sort of, you know, well-known thing, right? Like, when they present it, they're like, yeah, the news was talking. But you know, I was young. I was like 10 when this happened, so I had no interest in the news whatsoever. But my wife was like 14, 15. And for like this would have caught her eye. At the very least, she would have at least kind of heard about it. But I would imagine, unless somebody is a conspiracy person, they never heard about the Franklin story, and they don't remember hearing it, and they don't remember it being on TV. And this is similar to the equivalent. I mean, it's not exactly the same. In some aspects, it's worse. Of the Epstein narrative. Like, it's very similar. You know, it involves the same kind of shit. What are you doing? What do you want? Okay. And so you would think, like, Epstein-wise, especially with this Epstein thing being what it is, you would think this narrative would pop back up again. But it doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to be. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't watch enough truthers to know what everybody's saying. But as far as, like, evidence for Epstein and all that shit, this is right there. It might be different like on the surface, but I would imagine a lot of the same behind the scenes people are there. And this went all the way up to GWB. Once it got up to the president, vice president shit, it immediately disappeared. The story just went away for some reason. But when you look at these narratives, they parallel each other. And when you look at how it's presented, which is that it sort of broke open in late 88. Investigations were made, committees were put together. And this Gary Caradoni guy was the head investigator of the committee that was assigned to look into both the corruption embezzlement charges of $38 million and this child sex ring. Like you would think, you know, it involving government officials and supposedly worldwide parties and all this shit that it would have the full attention. Like if any of us were actually in charge, if the Goyim ran the show, then giving money to Israel or putting money into exposing these criminals, like who's going to vote to give the money to Israel? None of us, right? None of the Goyim think that way. But the system as it was seemingly only approved what sounds like a pretty small committee to investigate this. And yet, Gary Caradoni, which I'm going to try to look more into today. I'm just, been distracted by the religious bullshit. Them doing what they're supposed to do, take the focus off of what the original story is and get us talking about something else. Which again, it sort of points to just how important this narrative is. But this Gary Caradoni guy, in July of 1990, was flying home from Chicago to Nebraska. The narrative we're going to read is that he was coming home from the All-Star break, but the official narrative is that he had gone to procure some pictures, a bunch of pictures that showed a lot of the different characters that were being investigated, but the main guy, Lawrence King Jr., not a white guy, surprisingly a black guy, but again, when you look at this idea of the Diddy situation, of the Kanye situation, where things start getting hot, so you throw the black guy under the bus. Sounds like this is just that example. How did this random black guy get to, like, when you look at his biography and shit, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for, 60s, 70s, 80s black guys. But he also happened to go to the exact same university as Ted Gunderson. Gunderson went in 1950. Lawrence King went in 1970. Again, 0 viewers. If it's showing me that I have 0 viewers and you're here, what does that show you? What does that tell you? By the way, if you are watching, like, share, and sub. Help. Clearly the censorship is insane on this feed. So. But Gary Caradoni was flying home with his 8-year-old son in a small plane. And the plane, according to the official narrative, the official story is that the plane disintegrated in midair. And there's no explanation to this day as to how a plane just disintegrates midair. But he had a briefcase with him that had all of these pictures he had just received. And this was gonna the nail in the coffin kind of shit. Pun intended, I guess. And you'll see as the narrative goes, but the briefcase that had the pictures in it was never found. Strangely enough, the briefcase. And so this happens in July, according to the narrative. I couldn't find the exact date. Maybe I'll find it here. But this happens in July, and by the end of July, the committee that he was the chair of, was the lead investigator of, a grand jury with the committee they just decide that all of the accusations are unfounded, and that this thing is that's nothing. They don't even have like a period of mourning. Within a couple of weeks, I got to find the dates if I can. I couldn't find them yesterday, so I'm gonna try again. The friends, the group, the all in the same boat people just wrap all this shit up. They're not concerned with the evidence that he had that was missing, none of it. And what I would assume is because the American public that did know about this story didn't buy it for anything, and there was starting to be some uproar about, hey, what the fuck, this guy was clearly killed, this, that, and the other. In August of 1990, the following month, on August 20th, I think it is, 1990, the Gulf War officially begins. We go to war. And nobody talks about this story again. It just disappears. And if this doesn't sound like a very similar narrative to what's happening now, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what else you require. But here, let's look this up. So this is the Internet Archive, full text of Gary Caradoni. I don't know what this is supposed to be on. This is just archive.org. Internet Archive. It doesn't say nothing. So it says, the burned out remains of a 6-seater Piper airplane that crashed early Wednesday morning on the Harold Cameron Farm near Ashton rested upside down in a cornfield. So it disintegrated and then fell from the sky and crashed upside down, while also burning, while also bursting into flames. Pretty strange. The crash resulted in deaths of 2 people, tentatively identified as 41-year-old Gary. It says DJ Mark is greater than AU. Like, it's got some weird text right in the middle there. DJ Mark. I don't know. 41-year-old Gary Caradoni and his 8-year-old son Andrew Caradoni of Lincoln, Nebraska. The plane was en route from Chicago Midway Airport to Lincoln. The cause of the accident remains under investigation by the FAA and the Lee County Sheriff's Department. Plane crash probe continues. By Telegraph and AP writers. By Telegraph and AP writers. We don't get to know who's actually looking into this, what their sources are, how this is all working. We just have to trust the Telegraph and the AP because, they're trustable. Autopsies were being performed this morning at KSB Hospital to determine positive identification. So this had to be, if it says Wednesday morning, this has to be either Thursday or Friday. Right? Because where would this... What?
Donald Trump is not Canadian. Yeah, but look.
Oh, no, I want to see this one, so I'm going to watch the whole thing. So, yeah, when the article says that the crash happened Wednesday, it's not even giving the date because you assume that it was earlier in that same week. And I don't know if this isn't an article necessarily. This is clearly a note on a typewriter. weirdly enough, or I don't know what this is supposed to be, but this is strange. This is strange. Think about this. This story would have had to have been huge, right? Huge. You have a Nebraska area banker, a black guy of all things too. I mean, it's a black guy, so you know they love throwing black guys under the bus and making black guys sound crazy. There's a man who is accused of running a pedophile ring that goes all the way up to the President of the United States. The lead investigator finds evidence, picture evidence of the crimes, and on the way home, his plane falls apart midair with him and his 8-year-old son on it. They die, and there's not a whole bunch of news stories about this. I'm looking up archive.org on some random archive of this. Where's the fucking story? This is a huge story. At the very least, shouldn't Nebraska, like, newspapers be full of stories, full of these? Like, what the fuck? Where does this... How is this a nothing burger? This doesn't make any sense. Well, always got to catch myself. It doesn't make any sense the way that we're supposed to believe things work. You know? The autopsy being performed to determine the identification. Killed early Wednesday in a plane crash near Ashton. Lee County Coroner Richard Schilling, gotta love that, Dick Schilling, said the victims have been tentatively identified as Gary Caradoni and his son. I mean, we've said that now 3 times. The two were en route from Chicago's Midway Airport back to Lincoln after attending the All-Star baseball game Tuesday night when the plane crash occurred. So now the plane crash occurred Tuesday night? I mean, Tuesday night is, you know, once we pass midnight, it's not Tuesday night anymore. The plane reportedly went down around 2:30 a.m. This man went to the fucking All-Star game with his kid. And then at 2:30 a.m., they were flying a random plane back home. Like, seriously, what part of this actually seemingly makes sense to you? Reportedly went down about 2:30 a.m. How come there's no Mayday signal, there's no transponder went off at this time? You know, we just know it's about 2:30 a.m. This is the lead investigator of a really, really important story that has like huge ramifications, and the death directly leads to the story just being shut down. Seems like Gary Caradoni believed the accusations and was actively going to expose this, probably had been threatened and refused to back off. And then they hit his plane with the discombobulator ray. I mean, you know, Trump talking about the discombobulator. If they could use an entire discombobulator ray on all of the Venezuela area that they were attacking, didn't you wonder why those videos were all so dark? Why it all you saw was the explosions. You didn't really see street lights and shit. They hit them with something. But if they have the technology now to do it to an entire area, well, a much smaller, smaller version of it, would you think they've had it since the 80s? Have they been hitting planes with the discombobulator ray, making them fall this whole time. But to think that this is just a mystery story don't make no sense. There's a lot of details in this that are already really fucked up. Especially when you say, went down around about 2:30 a.m. and the wreckage was found by a Lifeline helicopter from St. Anthony Medical Center about 6 a.m. Wednesday. So it took about 4 hours for them to find this plane crash. A plane crash? In the middle of a fucking, I mean, I would imagine it was a rural area, but still, it's a plane crash. Aren't there like transponders and aren't there all sorts of things that, didn't they know the route that the plane was supposedly on from Chicago to Nebraska? Isn't it like a pretty standard route? Seems strange that it would take them 4 hours to find the wreckage of a very important person. This isn't like a you and me situation. This guy was an investigator, the lead investigator on the committee that to dealing with something that went all the way up to the president. Like this should have been front news. This should have been the main story people were talking about for a very long time. Everybody should know about this. Everybody should know about this Franklin shit. Everybody should know about this assassination. And none of you have even heard of it. I hadn't heard of it till yesterday. And I looked into the Franklin cover-up before. So, I'd probably heard the name and just didn't put it together back then. I haven't looked this up in a long, long time. But I'll be goddamned, man. Schilling said the autopsies were performed by Dr. Peter Stevens, a forensic pathologist from Davenport, Iowa. So now we have a plane crash on the way home from Chicago to Nebraska. Can I see your phone for a second? Thank you. I just want to see the map. Maybe I'm just missing something here. U.S. All right, I just want to see. Okay, so it is in between, so that would make sense. From Illinois to Nebraska. So but it crashed in Illinois. That was the narrative, right? It crashed on a farm. Near Ashton. I don't know where that is. I mean, I would assume there's an Ashton in Illinois, Nebraska and Iowa. Ashton, KSB Hospital. Can I see that one more time, please? Kansas. No.
Yeah, fight. That's great down the nose a couple times.
Knowing that my morning heart is worthless as I pay attention, tensions running high. Airplanes stay in the sapphire sky. The happier I try to be. Bastards fly by, supplying the seeds of dire beliefs that
KSB Hospital in Dixon, Illinois. All right, so KSB Hospital is in Dixon, Illinois. So KSB Hospital is in Dixon, Illinois. So it went down while it was still in Illinois. So why would the coroner Why didn't the coroner do the autopsy? Why did Davenport guy be brought in? Seems strange, right? Look, we have dumbass Israeli Jewish pedos on here crying about Jerusalem. Oh, they're so stupid. Lee County Sheriff Tim Bivens said the plane and its victims were burned in the crash and dental records will be used. They were burned so badly by this crash that they had to have dental records to identify them. Wasn't it like, as the only two people in the plane, wouldn't that have been on some sort of record anyway? Like, why would it have been that hard to identify who it was? Wouldn't his family have known he was going? Wouldn't they say he was on? It sounds like he was on their plane or something. I mean, there sure does seem to be missing a lot of details aren't here. A lot of details that would answer some questions don't show up. Especially considering I'm literally looking at some archive page. I don't even know what the fuck this is an archive of. The National Transport Safety Board, the NTSB, has taken over investigation of the accident, according to Bivens, and it is up to the board to establish the cause of the accident. So it shows you just how important this is that the NTSB takes over. But it also, like, it adds more questions. I love when people comment about what's going on in the video, so you know they're actually paying attention. They're dumb enough to out themselves. Meaning every time I say something about pedos or anything like that, and they don't say anything, that says a lot about them, don't you think? They can comment on this or that, but they never have anything negative to say about pedos or friars. Questions were raised by my wife and her friend didn't believe that you could sell makeup on Facebook. And she had this thing, and I was like, let me just try it. I posted it yesterday. It's already selling. The national questions were raised by a Nebraska state senator about the possibility of sabotage. Quote, based on my observations of 12 hours in the cornfield at the crash site, it does not give that appearance. I am not an expert, however, and most of what I learned about planes I learned yesterday, Bivens told the Telegraph. So he doesn't know shit about planes. He was there in the field looking shit, but from what he can tell, it doesn't look like sabotage, but he doesn't know anything about planes. How would he know what to look for? Do you realize how stupid that is? The plane came down on the Howard Cameron Farm in Bradford Township, about 5 miles southwest of Ashton. The site has been cordoned off as a precaution, according to Bivens. The Telegraph has learned, you gotta love how they do that shit. It bothers the fuck out of me. This is one of those things that you do when you're in elementary school or middle school to sort of pad your paper. It has to have 500 words. So instead of, he would have done this, you could say, he would have been doing this. And, he had been interviewed. Not he was interviewed. They do that shit all the time. I hate it. The Telegraph has learned, not the Telegraph learned, the Telegraph has learned the Rockford FBI office was advised of the crash, but is not participating in the investigation. The FBI is not participating in the investigation of a crazy, doesn't make sense plane crash involving the head investigator into of a child prostitution ring involving government officials, and the FBI wants nothing to do with it? That seems strange. That seems strange. Duh, I say the wrong name. Isn't that clever? Duh. I don't care about pedophiles. I'm too busy being clever. I say the wrong name. Duh. What? What? That's the best that can be done. These aren't people that care about exposing pedophiles and stopping genocide. These are people who are like, I'm going to call him the wrong name. Duh. What an amazing journey this is. Lee County Sheriff deputies staked out the crash site overnight, and a guard was posted outside KSB Hospital's morgue overnight, where the bodies were taken when removed from the crash site. That's weird. If it's not big enough to matter, then why are we stationing guards and shit outside? If it's a cut and dry, nothing to see here, why would you need to guard the morgue? Somebody trying to steal the bodies? Who'd be trying to steal the bodies? The guard remained until the autopsies began this morning. So this is Friday, I assume, then? Or, no, it has to be Thursday, right? I think this is the next day. Bivens termed the action a routine precaution. That's a routine precaution? If it's routine, then why would you have to explain it? If it was routine, then everybody would, yeah, they always do that. They have a guard there to prevent any press agents from getting in and interviewing any sort of people involved, any sort of orderlies, any sort of hospital staff, even the autopsy guy. You see how that works? Duh! Duh! Bill Bruce, an air safety investigator for the NTSB, said the plane apparently broke up in flight. It was a scattered wreckage pattern, Bruce said. It certainly demonstrates that it did break up, almost like it got hit by a missile. It sounds like when you're talking about everybody inside being burned beyond recognition, the plane breaking up mid-flight, it sounds like it got hit by a missile if you look at the scatter pattern. Why wouldn't that be the number one sort of focus? Why wouldn't, if you heard this story and you saw it laid out like it is, your first thing wouldn't be, holy shit, that thing got hit by a missile? A scatter pattern? Planes don't crash like this. This isn't how, where's all my tools?
My glasses just go.
Where's all my tools? They're not on there. All the toothpicks are gone and the paper clip's gone. It should be, I agree. No, you didn't. You saw a toothpick. It's not here. Believe me, I can see. And this one is not on me. You guys, you're right. It's not. It's me. My bad. My wife doesn't ever lose or misplace things. I do. Don't get it twisted, motherfucker. It demonstrates that it did break up in flight. The exact mechanism of the breakup is unknown. That's unacceptable. That's not something that's not a narrative that's given in such an important, such a fucking monumental type of a situation. Well, it happened. We don't know how it happened. Shut up and go to sleep. But this is fucking wild. Investigator, the wreckage was scattered over a 3/4 mile area. What else makes that happen? 3/4 of a mile? Like, that's a long way. Like, that would be from 7 Mile to basically like where the cop always sits in that little court place, you know, just before you get to the store, just before you get to, what's it called? Like 3/4 of a mile is a long ways. And what? This plane just fell apart like its screws were loosened or some shit? What is there another comparable story that anybody can tell me? Plane crashes for unknown reason, seems to break up mid-flight. Jamie, can you look that up for me? I wish I had a Jamie. Thanks, I appreciate the like and the sub. Good work. If you're watching, like, share, and sub. Help out. If exposing pedophile rings and government actions and all that shit is something that matters to you, you know, help. I know I'm just nobody, nothing, who says things the wrong way and is, you know, arrogant and all these other things. If you know of somebody else that's talking about this shit, by all means, share them too. Share them with me and I'll share them. That's funny. All right. Investigators Wednesday began picking up the individual pieces of the plane from various locations and brought them to the main crash site. Bivens said at some point the N exclamation point AIIE space P question mark ARTS. The plane parts, maybe it's supposed to say? I'm not sure. Were removed from the field and taken to another location to be reassembled as part of the investigation to determine the cause of the crash, which is what they do every time something happens like that. You don't just clean it up and ship it off to China so it can get melted down when nobody can look at it. But there's not even water here. So none of the pieces should be missing. They should be able to reconstruct an entire plane, right? Did it have one of those magnesium fires that the Kobe helicopter supposedly had? So that's why there wasn't much evidence left over. That's why when that couple that was riding their mountain bikes through the area, who happened to have a camera, you know, a helmet cam, and they pulled up on the scene, and there was nothing. There was no bodies. It wasn't even charred. Like it was charred, but it wasn't like some big wreckage, fire everywhere, hellish scene like you would assume a helicopter crash with 6 people killed would look like. You would assume you would find a big ass black dude's body. Right? I wonder if that's even. Biker Cam Kobe Does it even exist anymore? I know I've seen it. Crash site. Let's see. It shows wreckage from helicopter crash. That's supposedly the wreckage from the crash? Oh, come on. That's not even the same helicopter. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's nothing. It's there's literally nothing there. Whatever way they say, because I still, to this day, I still don't know the actual reason. Was it that they were flying and they didn't get up high enough and they crashed into the side, or that it conked out and then crashed as they were climbing? I never really know which one it is. National Transportation. NTSB drone footage shows the helicopter crash. Yep, that looks totally believable, doesn't it? Just disintegrated. Just fell apart. I wonder if it's the same technology used on this. I don't buy that Kobe's dead. Look at that. Where's the scorching? Like, anything that burns that hot, that burns all that metal to bits, why is there dry bush within it? And there's all the burns on the bush that's right there. All that shit. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Look at all that vegetation that's dry. This is the California fucking mountainsides. Oh, look, the engine. The engine just sitting right there for you. Yep, there's a wheel. That's what a helicopter wheel looks like, right? Yeah, we'll throw that in there. Look at all the dry brush around where it's charred remains. Why is there dry brush there? How come all of that area, look at how dry it is. How come all of that area didn't catch on fire? Holy shit! Do you know how many times we do this? Do you know how many times we accidentally expose something that just does not make sense? None of you can be dumb enough to say that you saw that footage and you think that was a magnesium fire that burned so hot it destroyed most of the evidence, but then left this shit here.
The video shows what a mountain biker saw just seconds after the helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? None of that's catching on fire. Why isn't that catching on fire?
Conditions and pilot error are likely causes of the crash, but the full investigation.
And what's going on? Why does it
Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
I mean, that looks like it went, like it hit the mountain. So it looks like it was the thing where they say it was trying to climb and it didn't get high enough because it was so foggy and they just like sort of skidded and crashed into it. That doesn't make any sense. Because it's wet, yeah. That California mountainside, all right, with all that dry brush all around it, was very wet. And it's crazy how the fog seemingly lifted immediately. The crash happens, and where's all the fog that was supposedly there? The thing about it is, like, if you're as much of a fan of bonfires as I am, I burn wet shit all the time. You know, not wet, but not completely dry stuff all the time. And especially if it's some sort of brush like that, as soon as it gets in the fire, the water just evaporates. You can hear it, and then it catches fire. We're talking about something that was said to be a magnesium fire. That's what they said. That's why there wasn't very much evidence, because it all had burned up so tremendously. And you can literally see the remains are just charred pieces of helicopter. They don't say it exploded midair. They say it looks like it sort of it looked like, I don't know. It looks like a staged site to me. And there's no black Mamba helicopter there. And that's the bike. I love the footage of the biker supposedly right afterwards. So this is
video shows what a mountain biker saw just seconds after the helicopter.
Just seconds after. Where are all the where are the 8 people? My bad. 8 people, including one big ass black dude. Where are all the bodies? That's seconds later, right? These people pulled up seconds after the crash.
Logo to subscribe to our Eyewitness News YouTube channel.
Sorry, I just got a comment. This makes no sense. This is fucking stupid. This is the drone footage. What helicopter is that? That's not the Black Mamba. That's not even the helicopter big enough to carry 8 people. Look at all that brush. This is fucking stupid. I'm going to have to do this in a different time. I can't believe I'm accidentally fucking exposing this now, too. NTSB, where officials were... Wow, this is a long article. I am going to break off here, and I want to look more into that real quick. You know what? If you're watching this video, I'm going to reset, and hopefully you come back and join us on the reset, because I think we just stumbled into something pretty fucking massive here. So check out all the links in the description. Pedophiles, kill yourself. The rest of you come back.